Good morning, everyone. It is very, very early 2026. As you are likely aware, I have been attempting to build up the space for Second Wind Raceworks as much as I can. I think I've been working on it since July or August of last year. I have finally completed my garage purchase, and one of the first things that I put in the garage, and one of the first skills I thought I would attempt to develop for Second Wind Raceworks, is welding. So I bought a welder. I set it up, I think, day before yesterday. I did my very first welding attempt. It turned out to be disastrous, and have since looked up a bunch of tips and tricks on how to improve with flux core welding, and have sourced some material to do some practicing on. So what I'll do in this video is I'll give you a quick rundown of my welder setup. It's not fancy or amazing or anything, but it should be good enough for me to, learn quite a bit. I've got some material to weld on. I'll show you that, where I got it, how much I paid for it. And then also, I guess I'll just be laying down some beads. And, with each bead that I put down, I will try to improve. And I have a feeling that I'm going to regret sharing these. But anyway, I'm going to start. I've got different material thicknesses. I obviously have a variety of welder settings to test. And anyway, here we go. I guess first with a rig rundown. You've probably already seen it, but I'm going to give it to you anyway. All right, thanks. Today, we laugh at my welding. And then tomorrow, we'll laugh at it some more. All right, here's the welding setup. It is a Vulcan OmniPro 220. I do not currently have a gas bottle. The places where I've attempted to buy a gas bottle were out. This is my little welding table. Got my ground connected to it. I've got a vise mounted to it. Here's some of my PPE. This auto darkening helmet is actually pretty good, or at least it seems so to me. Here's so I don't burn myself quite so bad. And again, the welder. I was so excited to have 220 volts to be able to run it off of. Lo and behold, the plugs are completely different. So that is what the pigtail looks like for my welder. And here's what my socket looks like. This looks like for a dryer or something. I don't know. I don't know if there's maybe a pigtail or an adapter, or if I need to put a new wall socket in. But anyway, for now we're running off of 110 volts. Yeah, that's it for the rig. Alrighty, here's the three pieces of material that I'm going to practice on today. So all three of them I got at Ace Hardware. I understand that that's not the best or cheapest net place necessarily to get material. However, it's Saturday morning, and where I live, like all of the metal superstores and junkyards and other places that might actually have metal are closed or are 30 miles away from my house. So actually overpaying a little bit at a retail store makes more sense than saving 50% but spending twice as much on gas and time actually going to get it. So this first piece is a 1/4 inch by 4 inches wide by 12 inches long. This was 15 bucks at Ace Hardware. The next piece I got is a 6-foot stick of, what is this, 1/8 by 1 inch. It was also 15 bucks. And then I just asked the guy, just for welding practice, do you have any sort of scraps or leftovers or rejects or whatever that I could use for welding practice? And he vanished into the back for a little while and came back with this piece of square stuff. It's actually tube. I think it's maybe 15 or 16 gauge material, but he sold the whole thing to me for $4. So I'm sure I'll get plenty of real good welding practice in there. Plus, I really, need practice welding thinner gauges as well. I'm going to start with this one and just start laying a whole bunch of beads on it, and hopefully every bead I make is improved or I learn something. So let me go get set up and I will start. Okay, one tip, always use your PPE. While I was cleaning up the weld, I touched my finger with the wire wheel, and this is what it did. This would certainly have been very, very painful if I hadn't had this glove on. So wear your PPE all the time. All right, well that was really hard. I genuinely thought I was going to improve over the course of today's practice. Turns out that's not the case. As a matter of fact, I'm not totally sure I will have the courage to post this, just given how bad it turned out. But anyway, for now, I will keep at least filming so that I can change my mind later if I'm feeling especially bold to post my accomplishment, which is very, very small. Much respect to people that weld every day, people whose welds I see that are beautiful looking stacked dimes. I don't know how you do it. It definitely practice more than I am. But let me bring you in close and show you the results of my practice. And yeah, I have a lot of work ahead of me. But anyway, come on in here, let me show you. All right, well this is where I started. This is my attempt to put beads on a 1/4-inch plate. Here is my very first bead of the day. Please remember my goal was to actually improve with every attempt. That very obviously did not happen. The second bead is down here. Maybe a tiny bit more regular, but still all the porosity, all the ugliness. My third one is back up here. I'm trying to spread the heat out just a little tiny bit. Again, it looks like, I don't know, blind dude welded or something. The fourth bead is the second one from the bottom here. Probably not my worst one, but without going through each and every one, they are all miserably bad. So, I definitely have a lot of practice ahead of me on welding the thicker material. Okay, let's go to something a little bit thinner. Here is where I attempted to weld 1/8 inch plate. I didn't even clean this one up. This is my first attempt. It looks like the welder did a little bit better. Maybe a 1/4 inch is a little bit thick to be using 30,000 flex core wire on. The second one here, I think my welding helmet was set a little bit too dark. I kind of lost track of where I was and ended up getting real close to the edge. Also really quite ugly. Then my third attempt is over here. This is maybe the least bad one of the day. And then the fourth bead that I made today. Again, this is on 1/8 inch. And then from there I stepped down to the, I think it's 16 gauge. Again, I didn't even clean this one up. I blew a huge hole in it, like right off the bat. This was my second attempt. And my third attempt. Things got just a tiny bit better, enough for me to actually clean them up a little bit, get the slag off. This is my fourth attempt at putting a bead on this 16 gauge. What happened here at the end, let me see if I can, is I tried to weld all the way down and then back up a tiny bit. At the end, it looks like I blew another hole through the metal. And then here, this is my last attempt on this 16 gauge. Again, my goodness. At least I don't have any holes in it, but awful. All right, I then went back to the 1/8 inch and I attempted to, weld a terribly misshapen T. So this is the first side. Pretty obvious that I got way more weld on the bottom piece of metal than on the top piece of metal. And then when I turned it around, I tried to weave a little bit more between the top and the bottom. And while it's very far from square, at least I have my bead distributed a little bit more between the two pieces. don't think I got good penetration. But this was my last attempt at joining these two 1/8 pieces together. All right, well, I've got a lot of practice left, so wish me luck. I will continue working on it.